If you're over 65 and you have lower back pain, well, then you need these lower back pain stretches for seniors. If you're over 65 and you want to do some stretches to help fix your lower back pain, well, then a lot of the stretches that people recommend are too difficult for you and can even cause more aches, pains, and injuries to your lower back. But today, I'm going to show you 2 of my favorite lower back pain stretches that all seniors can be able to do. Plus, at the very end of this video, I'm going to show you one of my favorite core movements that you should also do to strengthen your core and prevent getting lower back pain in the future. Now, before we dive into the first movement, I wanted to talk about the hip structures of the body because this is often why people have lower back pain in the first place, okay? So what happens is this: if you start to walk and you swing your leg forward like this and your hamstring gets stuck between your pelvis and the back of your knee, well then guess what's gonna happen? It's gonna pull the pelvis backwards like this and put more pressure on the lower back, causing inflammation inside the discs of the lower back, which can end up causing that lower back pain. So we want to make sure that our hamstrings are nice and loose so that our legs can swing, so that we can bend forward and pick up off the ground with a nice neutral spine instead of rounding through our backs. And so that's the first stretch we're going to do. Now the second stretch is going to be working on the hip external rotation, because when we create hip external rotation, and especially when we do it in the way that I'm going to teach you, it's going to take this hip socket, which for a lot of people is impacted like this, is compacted. When we stretch all these muscles and we strengthen them at the same time, we create more space inside the hip, which then doesn't pull on the pelvis, oftentimes causes less pain or aches in the hips and makes things like walking feel a lot easier, and increases your strength and flexibility in that rotational capacity of your hip, which allows you to do a lot more amazing things in your life and also eliminates that lower back pain. And finally, like I said, at the very end of this video, I'm gonna show you my favorite core movement for seniors that you can do while lying down. All these are gonna be lying down movements, by the way, and it's gonna help you strengthen your core, which will allow you to do things in your daily life without injuring your back again. So let's dive into the first stretch to stretch out those hamstrings, okay? Okay, the first stretch is gonna focus on your hamstrings, and all you need is a towel. One of the best ways to do all 3 of these movements is to do them in bed before you get out of bed first thing in the morning. And if you wanna double down and do them before you go to bed and do them twice a day, that's even better. That'll help you regain the strength and flexibility you need to eliminate that lower back pain. So put the towel next to your bed, and first thing in the morning, what you're gonna do is take this towel and you're gonna loop it over the ball of your foot. So the way you can do this is this: cross your ankle over your knee, throw the towel over your foot like this, over the ball of your foot again, not over the arch of your foot. And then we're gonna come down to the ends of the towel, straighten this bottom leg. If that bothers you at all, go ahead and bend the bottom leg, that's totally fine. Relax while lying in bed, and all you're gonna do is pull your toes to your nose, slowly straighten the leg, and then take some deep breaths into the belly. And as you exhale, try to pull your toes closer to your nose, okay? And what you're gonna feel is a stretch coming down the backside of the calf, down the backside of the hamstring. We wanna make sure we keep that spine nice and neutral. So what does that mean? As I'm pulling my leg up, I don't wanna round my back like this. I don't want my tailbone to come off the ground. I don't want my upper back to come forward like this, because that's putting us in a compromising position. Instead, what we want is we wanna keep the lower back pressed into the ground, the upper back pressed in the ground, and a very slight arch where you can almost fit your fingers underneath your lower back as we do this stretch. That's gonna put us in a position where we'll be able to maximally stretch the calf and the hamstring, which is what we want from this stretch. Now, once you hold this stretch for anywhere between 60 to 90 seconds, then what you can do is bend the knee, put your other foot up, and switch sides, putting that towel again over the ball of the foot. And then again, either straighten this bottom leg or keep it slightly bent like this. Bring the toes to the nose first, just like we said. Stretch that hamstring and then breathe and relax, and hold this one for 60 to 90 seconds as well. Now, once you've held this for 60 to 90 seconds, you can bring your foot back down to the ground and immediately just take a notice of how much better your lower body and your lower back feels with just one stretch. Then let's move on to the next one. Okay, for this next move, we're gonna do both a stretching and strengthening move that's gonna help create less compaction inside the hip and create more mobility in our hip external rotation, which often helps immensely with lower back pain. It's one of my favorite lower back pain stretches for seniors, okay? So what you're gonna do here is bring your feet close together with your knees bent to about 90 degrees. And we're gonna do a move called lying clams. So what you're gonna do here is this. You're gonna open the knees to the outside and let the ankles roll to the outside. And in this position, I want you to imagine actually trying to push your knees into the ground, push the outsides of your ankles down there into the ground, hold for a second, really trying to feel these muscles on the outsides of your hips. Then from there, you're going to squeeze the legs together, push the knees together, and this time you're gonna try to squeeze your legs together as much as possible for a few seconds, okay? You're gonna go back and forth very slowly, holding for 1, 2, or 3 seconds on each repetition to the outside, 1, 2, or 3 seconds on each repetition to the inside like this. Now, if you really wanna make this move feel really good for your lower back, there's one more thing I want you to add. As you go out and as you go in, I also want you to drag back with your heels like this. So the moment that I drag back with my heels, almost like I'm trying to pull my heels towards my tailbone, is the moment that I create more space in the hip capsule, okay? I'm almost prying the bones out of the hip capsule using the strength of my hamstrings. So in this position, I want to pull the heels back towards the butt, and then repeat the clamshell while keeping those heels pulled back the whole time. It's gonna be extra muscles working now, so it'll feel a little bit more confusing, but it should give you a lot less pressure on the lower back and also create a lot more strength in the hamstrings and the hip external rotators as we do this motion. Now do this for 1 minute, and then let's move on to the core movement last that I want you to learn because it's gonna help you protect your lower back and strengthen it. It's not a lower back pain stretch for seniors necessarily, but it's one of the best moves that you can do if you're a senior with lower back pain. Okay, this final move is for the core, like I said, and what we're gonna focus on here is teaching you how to properly activate your core with a simple move called a tuck hollow position, okay? So what it looks like is this. I'm going to basically start by pressing my lower back into the ground. So the first stretch we did with the hamstring, we wanted a little bit of an arch in the lower back. This time, I want you to press your lower back on the ground. You shouldn't be able to get your fingers underneath your lower back, okay? So make sure you maintain that the entire time. If you need to, you can put a pillow under your head for support, or you can just lift your head up like this. For a lot of people, putting a nice thick pillow under the head for support can feel really good, okay? From there, you're gonna bring both your knees off the ground, and you're gonna keep pressing the lower back in the ground as much as possible. Now, in this position, you might already feel your core working like crazy, or this might be too hard for you. If you feel your core working like crazy, then this is the right position for you. See if you can hold it for 60 seconds before going to the next variation. If it's still too hard for you, then what you can do is bring your feet back down to the ground, hold for 30 seconds with one knee up, and then hold for 30 seconds with the opposite knee up before you transition back to both knees up again. And remember, lower back stays pressed on the ground the entire time. Now, if you can hold this position for 60 seconds, then we can bring our legs into a vertical plane. So now they're perpendicular to the ground, straight up and down, and see if you can hold this position again for 60 seconds with the lower back pushed in the ground. All right, now if this is still too easy, I'll give you one more progression, is to straighten the legs like this. Now you have 90-degree angles, keep the lower back pushed to the ground the whole time, and see if you can hold this for 60 seconds. If you can hold this position for 60 seconds, you're gonna have a strong enough core to do most of the things that you wanna do in your daily life, and it will help you prevent that lower back pain.
All right, there you have it. Practice these 3 movements every single day and watch your lower back pain go away almost instantly, all right? And the more consistent you are with this, the better your lower back will feel and the less likely you will be to injure your lower back in the future. Now, if you want the rest of your body to feel strong and flexible, then the best thing for you to do right now is try one of our We-shaped workouts, which you can try out for free by clicking the link below. Otherwise, if you want to gain flexibility across the rest of your body, then try these 4 beginner stretches right here.